Hey guys, Dabadoo here. So I just want to come out with a new build, but this one is for Last Epoch. Yes, I'm planning to play Last Epoch. I've played it before. I've enjoyed the game. In prior leagues, I played a mage and a sorcerer and a rune master, so I'm pretty familiar with this archetype and how to basically build out a mage in this game. And I came up with a new theory craft that I want to try out this league. Now, unfortunately, the Last Epoch servers are down right now today. Today is the 16th, so I can't test this build out in action, but I think it's going to work based off of my prior experience playing the mage archetype. So let me kind of explain the concept behind this build and why I think it's going to be fun and cool. Now, this build is also kind of in the same aesthetics of my other builds that I've come out with recently, which is the freezy, shocky melee builds. I like that. I like that type of play style. So if you enjoyed playing like, the Ice Strike Monk or, the Paladin, the Smite Paladin that freezes things and shocks things, this could be a build for you. So let's go over the interactions right now, guys, and the skills that you'll be using. Now, keep in mind that this is a Spellblade, so you won't be getting some of these skills until you've reached certain levels, but you can always level up with Glacier or some other type of cold skill. But once you have a high enough level, this is how you're going to want to kind of spec out the character, at least to start. Now, one of the unknowns for playing mages in Last Epoch, you kind of have to play the build to figure it out, and this is why I wanted to test it out. But unfortunately, like I said, servers are down, so I can't tell this right now. And I'll come out with updates very shortly, like tomorrow, maybe the next day, regarding how I take this and how I deal with mana sustain on this character. But one of the unknowns for Last Epoch playing mages is, do you have enough mana sustain? The skills that you're casting, the spells that you're casting, do you have the mana to cast them? I'm hoping I have enough mana built into this build. I'm not sure. If I don't have enough mana, there's ways for me to get more mana regen in this build and more flat mana on this build, so I can sustain the skills and the procs that I have, because this build will proc a lot of different skills and spells, procs on top of procs on top of procs. At least that's the concept behind it. And I need to have enough mana to sustain all of that. I'm not using any uniques in this build. I'm not using any set items in this build. I'm just using essentially rare items or purple items in this build. Now, in this build guide that I've created, or this theory craft that I've created, which will be linked in the video description, I have what I think might be relatively ideal affixes on purple gear. I'm also including sealed affixes as well, which are kind of annoying to get. But this is kind of the goal, and I think this, like the setup that I have, may work quite well. So let's go over everything. Your main attack skill is going to be Shatter Strike. Okay, it's a melee skill. You're going to be dual wielding swords, which is going to be pretty cool. Now, saying that, I do want to really test out Cold Steel, but I'm putting this 4 points into Icy Flow for now, just to make sure that I have the mana to cast it. But ideally, once I optimize this build, I'm going to try to work in 4 points of Cold Steel to get 80% to get 80% crit multi per sword, which is that's 160 crit multi for this main attack that I have, and that should be pretty nice. Now, what's great about Shatter Strike is that it'll basically attack really fast because you have Ice Blink, and then it repeats twice on top of that, which is very nice. It always chills and also always leaves frozen ground as well. And it should also generate a lot of ward because it's attacking so fast. But because it's attacking so fast, it's basically a proccing mechanism. And you start proccing everything else. And that ends up doing a lot of damage. At least that's the plan. So let's go over all the different procs that you'll be having with this build. So let's go to Spellblade here. So the first proc is Frostclaw chance on hit, 20%. So, whenever you're attacking with Shatter Strike, there's a chance you're going to proc out a Frostclaw. So that's something to be mindful of, okay? In addition to that, I have some masteries that I don't even use that much. So Frostclaw, I don't even have Frostclaw on my bar, okay? But Frostclaw is going to be procced relatively constantly with this build. And so because of that, I want to make it a mastery and spec into it. So when it does proc, it's really strong. Now, also what's really cool about Frostclaw when it procs is it has a chance to proc more Frostclaws, I believe. Okay, and then it also has a chance to proc Elemental Novas as well, which is very neat. And it also, what it does is it will shoot out these ice spirals on top of it. So this basically, Shatter Strike, by me just attacking normally, will start proccing out Frostclaws. The Frostclaws themselves will proc out themselves, will kind of self-sustain or self-generate their own more Frostclaws, along with Elemental Novas and Icicles, and also more Frostclaws. Okay, so that's the plan there. Now, because you're also proccing Elemental Novas, and you can have this as a spell on your bar. It's something you can cast, but you want to spec into Elemental Novas as well. And I have Arcane Projection because I'm hoping that when the Elemental Novas proc, they just won't proc around me. They'll proc where the monsters are. And so that's what Arcane Projection is for. Now, again, some of this stuff might not work out. This is a theory craft, but I think it's going to work out and I'm excited for it. So that's what Arcane Projection is for. You get this for basically Freezing Cascade, which is nice. I'm taking this for less mana because, again, I'm trying to be careful about how much mana this build will chew through. And you take this for basically spark charges. So with these Elemental Novas, you have kind of undeath effects, and which are those spark charges, and they blow up more people. So that's what this is for as well. And of course, you have Flame Ward. Flame Ward's really nice. You're speccing Flame Ward mainly for a bunch of armor, and the fire aura stuff, is this build will utilize fire auras, and what this does, you're converting it over to cold. So these fire auras are all cold auras, and that's nice because the theme of this build is to freeze the heck out of stuff. So instead of going over here for more damage and haste and all of that stuff, I'm going over here to basically be more tanky, because this character is a melee character, and I have to figure out ways to make my mage tanky. Okay, and I go up over here and get this. This is so I can basically cast Flame Ward twice. We talked about Frostclaw. We talked about Elemental Nova. Now Enchant Weapon as well. Okay, so this will basically, you cast this spell and it'll make all your spells do more damage. All your attacks do more damage. That's a huge attack speed buff. It'll cleanse you when you cast that. I don't know if I want to take this or not, but it's something to try out. More chill chance. Yeah, that's nice too. Just more damage. Also, what's really cool is that you shoot out icicles. More icicles are shooting out from your build. I'm liking that. And this is just so it lasts longer, and if you have less mana, it'll increase the damage that you do. So those are the masteries that you have. Again, Shatter Strike's your main skill. Flame Ward is your defensive buff. Frostclaw is essentially a proc that will be proccing other procs. Elemental Nova is also a proc, but you can cast it if you want. And you can cast it pretty far away, and it's an AoE, and it's just kind of nice. So it's basically, it can be your poker skill when Shatter Strike isn't an option. Now I am running Surge on this bar down here, but I'm not specialized into Surge. Surge is basically just like a travel skill, kind of like a Blink Strike or something, so I can gap close and stuff like that. But I'm spec'd into Nova, Enchant Weapon, Flame Ward, Frostclaw, and Shatter Strike. And like I said, with the passives, you will be also proccing Shatter Strike or Frostclaws from this as well. Okay. Now, a big important thing about this build is to get a bunch of fire auras, which are converted to cold auras. And those cold auras will give you a bunch of ward, okay? And then anything next to you is basically going to get melted because you're going to probably have like 20 auras at once. I don't know how much it's going to stack up to, but it's going to be a lot because you're going to be generating them constantly when you hit and when you crit. So not only do you have all these sources here to generate these auras, okay, but also ideally for an affix on your body armor and your hat, you're going to have a chance to cast Fire Aura, which is converted to cold, on crit, and you have a high chance to crit with this build. So for example, without turning any of these buffs on just as is, your melee crit chance is 99%. Let's just say it's 100%, okay? So almost 100% of the time, you're going to be critting with Shatter Strike and with all, like really most of your stuff, okay? And that should just generate because you'll be attacking so fast with Shatter Strike, and it repeats. It's like almost has like multi-strike on it, right? Because it repeats twice. Yeah, just a lot of procs are going on. A lot. I don't know. Hopefully, again, you have this mana sustain is enough to power this build. Now, because you're melee, you want to be tanky. I'm trying to fit armor in this build, as you'll notice. I'm trying to fit armor, percentage armor as affixes on my gear when I can get it. The armor mitigation without the plus flat 1000 on top of it is already at 52 with the plus flat 1000 on it, not multiplied by the percentage mono. So that's probably going to go up when you use your flame ward. It'll probably go up to like 6,000, I think. So that's something. It's not great, but then of course with flame ward, you also have less hit damage taken and less elemental damage taken as well. So that should make you tankier. And also what will make you very tanky is the fact that you should be getting a ton of ward all of the time. And yeah, so that should be nice as well. Okay. And then if something actually gets through your ward shell, well, you're going to leech. Okay. So, you have a hat that leeches elemental damage, and you also have a blessing that leeches elemental damage over here. Okay. In terms of the idols, these are really great idols to have. The flat mana plus the increased armor and increased mana by a percentage. These are great idols. And try to fit as many of these in the build as you can, especially if you realize that this build will require mana. And like I said, I'll be coming out with a follow-up video talking about how this build plays and any tweaks and adjustments I make to it, because again, this is a theory crafted build. I haven't tested it out yet. Yeah, so basically in terms of the gear, what I did is I just put in what I felt were the ideal prefixes on these purple items, okay? And I put what I thought would be kind of an ideal sealed affix on these items as well. I've left most of the suffixes blank or empty. I have put in percentage armor and armor in some suffixes, but generally your suffixes are going to be filled up with like hybrid life, like flat plus percentage life, and also resistances. And for your suffixes on your weapons, you're probably going to want to get chance to whatever on hit. Okay. Freeze, chill, shock, whatever, because you're going to be doing all sorts of damage. In terms of the blessings that I'm choosing, I'm increased glyph drop rate, increased body armor drop rate, critical strike multi, increased one-handed sword drop rate, flat mana, increased prefix shard drop rate, percentage of melee leeched as health, and that'll stack on top of the elemental damage leeched as health up here. Increased class-specific shard drop rate. And, why I think the prefix shard drop rate and class-specific drop rate is so nice is because you can get the crafting shards to put on stuff like, +4 to level of Shatter Strike, +4 to level of Elemental Nova, that sort of stuff. So prefixes are generally, the most powerful affixes that you can put on the items, and suffixes are like, resistances and stuff like that. Okay. And then, I have class-specific shards. So again, that's stuff like level of Shatter Strike. And then you have the increased prefix chance of shards as well. Again, that's like level +4 to the level of Shatter Strike. Okay. Now, I also have the freeze rate per stack of chill. And the concept behind that is that you can build up a lot of chill really, really quick with Shatter Strike, because it's a guaranteed chill every hit. And then it also leaves this stuff on the ground, frozen ground, which is more chill. And so you should be building up chill stacks really, really fast on a boss. And then each chill stack goes into overdrive, because let's say you have 10 chill stacks. That's like what, 800 freeze rate. That's pretty nice. Okay. And then, chance to apply frailty on hit is the other blessing I have. It's just an overall good blessing. Frailty, it stacks 3 times, and you take 6% less damage per stack. It's pretty nice. So yeah, I have a Tyrant Crown on, Elemental Nova, Enchant Weapon, increased armor, and the sealed affix is chance to cast Fire Aura on crit. I'm using an Oracle Amulet because less damage taken over time is very important in this game, and it's kind of hard to get. I have increased elemental damage, critical strike multi, and then the sealed affix is increased critical strike chance. I have a Dawn Blade with cold melee damage and melee critical strike chance, with the sealed affix being melee attack speed. And the other blade will be cold melee damage, increased melee attack speeds, with the sealed affix being critical strike multi. Again, this is ideal. It doesn't have to be this exact setup, but these are the kind of affixes that you're going to want to fit into the build. For the body armor, you got Shatter Strike. You got a very significant chance to cast Fire Aura on crit, and again, you'll be critting a lot with this build. Okay, and you can see why I want to test out Cold Steel, right? Because if 160 crit multi on top of that is a lot of crit multi, right? So anyways, I'll be trying things out. For the rings, I think these are very solid rings because they give you resistances and they give you ward decay threshold at the same time. These, your fixes for the rings are going to be elemental damage, mana regen, and intelligence. If the mana regen isn't necessary, you can fit cold damage in there or something else. For the belt, you got mana regen, cold damage, and you got armor, or hybrid armor plus reduced damage taken from crits. And the sealed affix is a freeze rate multiplier. And when you use a potion, you heal yourself, or you freeze stuff around you. Okay. Again, this ring is just basically a copy of this ring. The gloves, you got flat mana, and you got increased melee attack speed. You have a chance to apply shred armor on hit, which is very nice. And the sealed affix is dexterity. For the boots, you got intelligence, movement speed, cooldown reduction, increased armor. So all of the affixes are filled up. The 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes are filled up on here. And, you got dexterity as the sealed affix. Dexterity is actually pretty strong for this build because it drastically increases your melee crit chance. So it's pretty nice to get. And this is due to some of the passives that you'll be taking. For the relic, I have an Elder Eye, and that's for the increased cold damage, chance to apply chill on hit, and freeze rate multiplier. For the modifiers in this, I have Flame Ward and Frostclaw, with crit multi being my sealed affix. And again, most of these pieces of gear, I have the suffixes empty for the most part. And the idea behind your idols and your suffixes is you're going to use them to basically cap out your resistances and fill any quality of life needs you need for your character. Okay. Now, keep in mind that Flame Ward, Frostclaw, Shatter Strike, Elemental Nova, Enchant Weapon, they're kind of specific for these slots, okay? So you're not going to be able to get Shatter Strike in your Elder Eye, and you're not going to be able to get Flame Ward, or at least +4 to level of Flame Ward, in your body armor. So just keep that in mind. And overall, that's why I think just taking the increased prefix shard drop rate and increased class-specific shard drop rate will treat you nice for your blessings. Yeah, so those are the items. That's the concept behind the character. Basically, you're going to get a bunch of fire auras around you, which are converted over to freeze auras. You probably have like 20, 30, I don't know. You're going to have a bunch around you. Those are going to be generating a lot of ward, along with whenever you're hitting stuff, it'll be generating more ward. And your procs will proc procs, which will proc more procs. That's the concept of the build. It should be fun. And if it doesn't work out, you can always just play a... I think you can respec in this game. I can't remember, but you can always go Glacier or something like that. That's a tried and true skill. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoy this video. It's all a theory craft right now. I'll be playing this game, and I'm really excited to try to make this build become a reality. And I'll be posting updates for it and any optimizations that I come up with. And I'll be updating this build guide as well on lastepochtools.com, so it reflects kind of where I take this build. So you can always click the link and it'll kind of show the latest kind of end game theory craft that I have. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'm planning to come out with build updates over the next few days while playing this character, and new videos as well. And hopefully this build comes to fruition and the theory craft works out. All right. Well, we'll see. I'll post a video probably 2 days from now. All right. Bye now.